Hello students, I am Sunil Ranjan and I am an English teacher. In this session, I am going to explain Middle English. Now, from 1150 onwards, English began to emerge as a language of English literature. It was enriched by extensive borrowings from French and Latin. The invention of the printing press in 1476 and rise in literacy led to its further growth. It helped to standardize the language. The great vowel shift, that is, change in the pronunciation of long vowels, also took place during this period. These changes were the last barrier between the Old English and Modern English and contributed to creating a language for both spoken and written purposes. Now, dialects of Middle English. Dialects means the regional language of a place. Well, dialects of Middle English existed both in spoken and written form. There was no single literary standard, and the language varied from county to county in Britain. Old English had 4 dialects, but Middle English had 5, and they were Northern, Southern, East Midland, West Midland and Kentish. The Northumbrian of Old English is now called Northern, West Saxon is now Southern, and Mercian is now divided into 2 dialects, East Midland and West Midland. Many factors together with the geographical considerations led to a situation where the East Midland dialect became the most important and useful to the people of the age. Modern English has evolved from the East Midland dialect. Now, coming to Middle English vocabulary. Because of the French rule in England, a large number of French words entered the language. Many of these words are related to dignity and honor of the royal office. Some of such words are royalty, prince, princess, duke, palace, castle, and sovereign. According to an estimate, about 10,000 French words were brought over into English during the 13th and the 14th centuries, out of which 75% are in use today. Some of the words from Latin came directly, but some came through French. Such words were mostly related to science, medicine, law, and literature. Now, Middle English grammar. During Middle English period, there were extensive and fundamental changes in the phonological and grammatical in English. The change made English analytic and simple. The word endings that served as markers of number, gender, case, and tense were also changed in their pronunciation, due to which they lost their distinctive form and usefulness. Many verb and adjective endings died, and fixed patterns of word order began to indicate grammatical relations. There was great vowel shift during this period. When we compare the Middle and the modern consonant systems, we find very little difference between them. But the vowel systems are very different. The long vowels have changed considerably, but the short vowels have remained almost the same. Now, coming to Middle English literature. English literature changed considerably during the Middle English period. The early literature of this phase, that was 1150 AD to 1215 AD, is exclusively religious in nature. The upper classes mainly patronized French literature, so the English writers could not expect support or patronage from them. The church and the leaders who were keen to spread the religion promoted native literature. The second phase of the period, 1250 AD to 1350 AD, displays a tendency to variety and dialectical subdivision. In addition to religious writings, there are also some secular works. Many of these were translations of French romance, such as Lay of Havelock the Dane, written in Midland, dialect in which the vocabulary is almost unmixed with French. Two other works during the period which contain a high proportion of French words are the Romaunt of the Rose, written by Geoffrey Chaucer, and the Romance of King Alexander. The second half of the 14th century, that is 1340 AD to 1400 AD, is known as the period of great individual writers. This phase is also known as Classical Middle English. Well-known works of writers of this age are the Prologue to the Canterbury Tales and the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. Next, Meditans, Vox Clementis, Confessio Amantis by Gower. Next, Piers the Plowman by Langland. Next, Bible, the translation by Wycliffe. Next, The Pearl. This is anonymous, means unknown. And Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, one of the greatest examples of English poetry. The writer is unknown. Now, Chaucer's works provide a great amount of information about Middle English grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Now, coming down to exercises. Number 1. Write T for true and F for false statements. Number 1. The year 1066 AD marks the end of the Old English and the beginning of the Middle English. This is false. Next, modern English has evolved from the Mid-Westland dialect. This is false. The early literature of Middle English is chiefly secular in nature. That is false. Next is, the second half of the 14th century is known as the period of great individual writers. This is true. Now, the next question is, what is meant by the great vowel shift? The answer is, the great vowel shift means the change in the pronunciation of long vowels. For example, face, place, aim. Now, the second question, when did it take place? The answer is, it took place in the 15th century during the period of Middle English. Number 3. Name the dialects of the Middle English. Answer is, Middle English had 5 dialects. They were Northern, Southern, East Midland, West Midland, and Kentish. Next question. How many words approximately were brought over from the French during the 13th and the 14th century? What percentage of these words is in use today? The answer is, about 10,000 words were brought over from the French into English during the 13th and 14th centuries. And 75% of these words is in use today. Next question. What made English from a highly inflectional language into an analytic one? The answer is, during Middle English period, there were extensive and fundamental changes in the phonological and grammatical in English. The change made English from a highly inflectional language into an analytic one. The next question. Name 4 notable writers of the Middle English. The answer is, the 4 notable writers of the Middle English are Chaucer, Chaucer, Gower, Gower, Langland, Langland, and Wycliffe. The spelling is Wycliff. Now the next question. Whose works are the major sources of information about Middle English grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation? The answer is, Geoffrey Chaucer's works are the major sources of information about Middle English grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. So I hope students, you understood what Middle English was. So if you have subscribed to my channel, well and good. If you haven't, do subscribe so that you get more and more in the time to come. Thank you.